On one of my recent buy or sell episodes, someone asked me, if Top Thrill Dragster gets shut down, will Magic Mountain have a better coaster lineup than Cedar Point? My inclination was to say no. I still think Cedar Point has the edge, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought this needed its own breakdown. So here we go. It's a coaster battle royale, the two coaster kings of America. This is Six Flags Magic Mountain versus Cedar Point. This video will match coaster against coaster, Cedar Point soon to have 17, and Magic Mountain with 20. I was able to find a match for most of them, but there were a few oddballs out there, and, of course, 3 extra coasters at Magic Mountain. Let's start with the year 2000 monsters, Goliath at Magic Mountain, and Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Both of these fall short in a lot of enthusiasts' eyes, but they are a GP favorite. Each one is lacking something despite its size. Neither give a short ride. Goliath, I would say, is adequate, but Millennium Force seems to go on forever with almost 6,600 feet of track. Goliath has a 255-foot drop, and Millennium Force was the first coaster that had a 300-foot drop. In fact, Goliath held the world record for a few months until Millennium Force broke it. Neither ride has a lot of airtime. Goliath has a little bit over the floater hill. Millennium Force has a little bit over its 2 big hills and a pop on the speed hill. But I think Millennium Force's 80-degree drop really tosses you out of your seat in the back, and Goliath at 61 degrees gives you nothing, even if you're sitting in the very back row. Goliath is more intense. Millennium Force does a better job showcasing its speed and has a better setting. For me, this is an easy one. Millennium Force gets the point. The second battle is between the RMC hybrids, Twisted Colossus at Magic Mountain and Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point. I think RMC went above and beyond for both of these. Twisted Colossus being their only Mobius loop coaster where the trains are designed to duel, and Steel Vengeance being their first hyper hybrid, adding 44 feet to the existing lift hill and giving it over 5,700 feet of track. Both of these are in my top 10. I've ridden Twisted Colossus more than any other coaster and I love it. I don't think it has a single bad element, but Steel Vengeance is in a class of its own. It manages to give you 77 seconds of elite ride time, well paced, a mix of airtime and inversions, the most airtime of any coaster in the world, and the hills come in all sizes, some straight, some outer banked. You also got head choppers. It's my number 1 for a reason. Cedar Point goes up 2-0. The third battle is between the wooden coasters, Apocalypse at Magic Mountain and Blue Streak at Cedar Point. These woodies are from completely different eras, but they aren't necessarily in different leagues. Blue Streak is a PTC wooden coaster with a very basic out and back layout, a little over 2,500 feet of track, and being built in 1964, you can tell it's old but still provides a great ride. Apocalypse is 45 years newer, built by GCI in 2009, and I would classify this as a mid-tier GCI. Not the best, not the worst, a very solid ride. It only has about 300 more feet of track than Blue Streak, which is surprising, but its twister layout is dynamic, and it has some solid airtime and some decent theming. I like them both, but Apocalypse gets the point and gets Magic Mountain on the board. The fourth battle is between the short launch coasters, West Coast Racers at Magic Mountain and Maverick at Cedar Point. One is Premier, the other is Intamin. They both use an LSM launch and have sharp, low-to-the-ground elements. West Coast Racers guarantees a duel every time, another Mobius loop coaster which gives a very long ride. I think it does a great job mixing up the elements. More negative G's on the white side and more positives on the yellow side. The comfort collars are no fun, but Maverick has equally annoying restraints. This is much more powerful than West Coast Racers, starting with an ejector-filled 95-degree drop, multiple whippy elements like the Stangle Dive, where West Coast Racers really only has the high 5 elements that give you the same amount of whip. It also has a strong rolling launch, getting you up to 70 miles per hour. I have my issues with Maverick, but it's a better ride than West Coast Racers. Even with the racing factor, Maverick is more thrilling. Cedar Point goes up 3-1. The fifth battle is between the specialty B&Ms, Tatsu at Magic Mountain and Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. Each one has a gimmick. Tatsu is a flying coaster, Gatekeeper is a wing coaster, so you get to ride under or on the side of the track to give a unique experience. They both stand 170 feet tall. Gatekeeper has about 500 more feet of track as it goes from the beach, over the front entrance, and back. Tatsu flies around the top of the mountain, staying high off the ground until that devastating 124-foot pretzel loop. This moment of intensity is unmatched by Gatekeeper, maintaining a graceful layout featuring near-miss elements. This is a close race, but I'll take Tatsu. It's just so impressive. It doesn't seem like this ride should exist, especially at a Six Flags park. The setting and the height and the speed, all while flying, makes it a really cool experience. Point to Magic Mountain, now 3-2. The sixth battle is between the big B&M loopers, Riddler's Revenge at Magic Mountain, and Valravn at Cedar Point. Riddler opened up during the golden years of the stand-up coaster, and unlike many others, it remains a stand-up. Cedar Point converted their stand-up, Mantis, to a floorless, so I think the best matchup now is Valravn. Valravn, of course, is a dive coaster, so it rides a whole lot different. It's also 1,000 feet shorter in length, but 70 feet taller. Riddler focuses on giving a complete inversion-based ride. Valravn rides the gimmick of a vertical drop, and happens to have a few inversions. This one may be controversial. I think they're both very good in their own way, but I would much rather ride Valravn. I love the vertical drops, and I don't love standing on a coaster. So, despite Riddler's awesome layout, Cedar Point scores this one and goes up 4-2. The 7th battle is between the B&M floorless coasters, Scream at Magic Mountain and Rougarou at Cedar Point. These may be the same exact model, but they are very different. Scream is a mirror image of the original floorless coaster, while Rougarou was built as a stand-up coaster and then converted. I don't like either of these rides all that much. I usually come off Scream pretty bored, and last time I rode Rougarou, I was trying to find the one standout element, but I couldn't. It seems like both of these just go through the motions. Rougarou has a nice straight drop and it's set over the river, which is nice. Scream is in the parking lot, but the one advantage it has is a 0G roll. Most floorless coasters have these, but since Rougarou was a stand-up, it was left without one. I think Scream is a more complete ride. Rougarou doesn't have any thrilling elements. I gotta give Magic Mountain the sad point here, 4-3. The 8th battle is between the B&M inverts, Batman the Ride at Magic Mountain and Raptor at Cedar Point. Both coasters were built in 1994, Batman being a clone of the original that came out 2 years earlier at Great America, and Raptor being B&M's first large-scale invert. Raptor is 32 feet taller and 1,100 feet longer, 6 inversions against Batman's 5. Also has a great setting along the Cedar Point midway. Batman is tucked away in the corner of Gotham City. Batman has the intensity factor over Raptor, but Raptor isn't exactly a mild ride. It holds its own when it comes to intensity, especially in the final helix. This is an easy call, point to Cedar Point and a 2-point lead. The 9th battle is between the Intamin Strata coasters, Superman Escape from Krypton at Magic Mountain and Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. These both clear 100 miles per hour and are give or take around 400 feet. Both have very simple layouts. Superman just goes out and straight up the tower and back down. Dragster goes over the top hat and then twists down. Superman has a very slow launch, getting up to 100 miles per hour in 7 seconds. Dragster gets to 120 miles per hour in 4 seconds. Superman uses LSM technology, the first coaster to do so, and Dragster always used a hydraulic launch ever since it opened, but since it closed in 2021, it seems like it may be heading in the direction of an LSM launch also. I'm still counting Dragster because it will be coming back in some shape or form, and it always has been and always will be better than Superman. Cedar Point takes a 3-point lead. The 10th battle is between the Mega Arrows, Viper at Magic Mountain and Magnum XL200 at Cedar Point. These are 1 year apart. Magnum is 17 feet taller but 1,300 feet longer. This hypercoaster focusing on airtime, while Viper focuses on inversions, 3 loops, a batwing, and a double corkscrew. Both can get pretty rough, but the parks take good care of them. It just comes with the territory of being a 30-plus-year-old arrow. I'm a big fan of Viper, but I'm an even bigger fan of Magnum. For me, this is a borderline top 10 coaster. The airtime on this is just bonkers, not just on the finale, but also on the hills in the middle. Cedar Point wins another battle, and takes a commanding 7-3 lead. The 11th battle is between the Arrow suspended coasters, Ninja at Magic Mountain and Iron Dragon at Cedar Point. These were built 1 year apart. Iron Dragon is the older one, but it's 100 feet longer and 16 feet taller, but Ninja hits a top speed that's 15 miles per hour faster. That's because Ninja is built on the side of a mountain, and uses that terrain to perfection. The climax of the ride being that swoop over Jetstream's lake. Iron Dragon has a nice setting over the lake, even uses a fog effect over the final helix. But this is a much more mild ride than Ninja, and I think Ninja takes this one easy. Magic Mountain is trying to make a comeback. The 12th battle is between the Arrow Mine Trains, Gold Rusher at Magic Mountain, and Cedar Creek Mine Ride at Cedar Point. These are only 2 years apart, Gold Rusher opening with the park in 1971, and they're about the same length. The big difference is the setting. Gold Rusher is built on its terrain, going up and over the mountain, ending with a very good helix. Cedar Creek Mine Ride has no terrain. It rides high off the ground. Gold Rusher just has a lot more character, and I think that's the superior mine train. Magic Mountain now within 2. The 13th battle is between the 1976 loopers, Revolution at Magic Mountain and Corkscrew at Cedar Point. These opened just a week apart, Revolution having the first modern vertical loop, Corkscrew also having a loop, but also 2 corkscrews. That became the first coaster in the world with 3 inversions. Corkscrew is very basic. A drop, an airtime hill, and then the inversions. It really does look great as it rides over the midway. Revolution is much more complex, tucked away in the woods, having some big swooping drops before building up to the dramatic moment, the lone vertical loop. It has almost 1,500 more feet of track, and even though it's not intense, it's got an amazing sprawling layout. Not to mention, it has lap bars now, and it isn't painful like Corkscrew. Easy win for Magic Mountain. They're back within 1 point. The 14th and final battle is between the Vekoma Junior coasters, Roadrunner Express at Magic Mountain and Woodstock Express at Cedar Point. These may seem like clones, but Woodstock Express is actually the bigger version. It's 15 feet taller and almost twice as long. I think Roadrunner has better theming, but it's not enough to overcome the better stats of Woodstock Express. Cedar Point gets some separation, now 8-6. There is one more battle that we can do. That's the Kitty Coasters. Speedy Gonzalez Hot Rod Racers at Magic Mountain, and Wilderness Run at Cedar Point. I can't rank one over the other, so we'll just leave that one alone. Cedar Point stands with an 8-6 lead and has 2 coasters left over. One of those is the 1978 Aero Classic, Gemini. This was comparable to the old Colossus, but now that we have Twisted Colossus, there's really nothing at Magic Mountain that can counter. Gemini is an awesome, smooth airtime machine, and you have the added factor of the racing trains. This deserves a full point. The last coaster for Cedar Point is one that isn't open yet. Their new Zamperla Wild Mouse. It's a nice boardwalk-style spinning coaster. A really cool ride for kids, and it could be a solid coaster, but I think this is only worth half a point. Cedar Point will end this battle at 9.5 points, a 3.5 point lead over Magic Mountain. But Magic Mountain has some extra coasters left over also, and some of them are very good. One of them is Full Throttle. Even though it's a short ride, it has some awesome elements, including that hang time stall, backwards launch, the booster launch, which is severely underrated, and finally, the drop off the loop. This is worth an extra point. Wonder Woman Flight of Courage is Magic Mountain's new coaster, and it does not have a match at Cedar Point. It's not the best coaster, but it is an RMC Raptor, so you're gonna get the sharp drops, the hang time moments, the whip, the airtime. This gets Magic Mountain another point. Magic Mountain is also one of those weird parks that has 4 kiddie coasters. 2 of them Cedar Point can't answer for. Canyon Blaster and Magic Flyer will get Magic Mountain another quarter point each. That leaves Magic Mountain with one more coaster that Cedar Point has no answer for. That's X2. This is one of the biggest bucket list coasters for enthusiasts around the world, and rightfully so. It's a one-of-a-kind experience in North America. From that 215-foot face-first drop into a ravine, and then you're just flipping around, forward and backward, on top of the track, below the track. X2 is worth 2 points for Magic Mountain. So, a point for Full Throttle, a point for Wonder Woman, half a point for Canyon Blaster and Magic Flyer, and 2 points for X2. That brings Magic Mountain's final score up to 10.5, barely edging out Cedar Point. Cedar Point won most of the battles among the major coasters. Magic Mountain was able to catch up with the smaller and older coasters. Even with Full Throttle, Wonder Woman, and X2, I think the top of Cedar Point's lineup is stronger, and their supporting lineup is deeper. But when you go head to head and factor in the extra coasters, Magic Mountain wins the coaster battle, at least in this format. I had no idea how this was going to shake out even as I was writing the script. I thought it might be close, and it turns out it couldn't be any closer. I'm not taking park atmosphere, theming, operations, food, location. All of that I'm completely ignoring. I just wanted this to be a coaster battle, and these parks have been duking it out for decades, and they both have elite lineups. That's all I got for now. Let me know if you disagree with any of my choices here, if you would change anything and why. Before you go, don't forget to drop a like, and if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub for more just like this. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to be a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.